Hello and welcome to another video by Brody Precision. My name is Frank Witmer and today's topic is LumenRadio's wireless BACnet product. LumenRadio has a wireless product that will allow for MSTP controllers to talk wirelessly back to a gateway, back to a MSTP system. Their product is called W-BACnet, and it is built on their mirror mesh, self-forming, self-healing wireless mesh technology. As the picture dictates here, we have a gateway that's marked being yellow here. The W-BACnet device as a gateway tied to an MSTP network of controllers, a JACE, whatever you might have. And then all the remote MSTP devices are connected to a W-BACnet node. Same part number, just set up as a node, and it's one device to each node. You can have up to 100 of these W-BACnet nodes on a mesh network, and basically it's to connect remote MSTP controllers to a network of controllers. Some of the features with the W-BACnet, there's one part number, so it's just one part number, and you do a switch selection for gateway mode or node mode. It's 2.4 gigahertz, and again, you can have up to 100 W-BACnet nodes per mesh network, and you are allowed to have up to, it's capable of 8 hops from one device to go all the way back. So it's got to watch the hops in the network. And the distances allowed are roughly 1,600 feet in line of sight, and 160 to 200 feet indoors with walls. And again, it's going to depend on if it's a block wall, if it's steel, if it's wood, but still roughly 160 to 230 feet. It can be powered from a 24 volt AC or DC source, and you can use the same power that's fed to the controller. And at this point, each node can support up to one and only one MSTP device. In future releases, there is a possibility that there will be you'll be able to go to maybe 3 or 4 devices per node, but at this point it's one device per node. If the controller is an auto Baud type of controller, that is supported with the W-BACnets, those devices will create, will set the baud rate for the controller, and there are no issues with that. And the device, the node, does not count as a MSTP device, nor does the gateway. You have selectable baud rates from 9600 to 768. So pretty much any baud rate that MSTP uses, you can select and have these nodes set up for that. If there's any upgrades to the software with these devices, the firmware upgrade is very easy to work with, and you use a smartphone and the NRF Bluetooth app to do that. There are status LEDs, and we'll go through those more in the next slide, but the LEDs will turn off after 30 minutes of operation. And there is a push button under the cover that you can hit to wake that back up so you can see the status again of the LEDs. The setup is quite simple, and looking at the diagram here, first here's a picture of the actual device. There's 24 volts in, there's another set of push-in terminals for power back out to go to another device, and then you have your BACnet MSTP terminations. There is a 5-switch dip switch package here, which allows you to set the baud rates, the parity, and the stop bits. And then whether or not the node will set the baud rate or let the gateway do it. When I've been working with this device, I've been just setting the baud rate at each of these nodes. And basically this is the setup I go with: 1 on, 5 on, rest off. You can see there's a 3-position switch here in the bottom left, or bottom right, I mean, and then there is also a reset button here that you use to wake the LEDs, and there's also a procedure if you had to do a factory reset, you could use the button for that as well. The 3-position switch is set up. The top position is, if it's a node, you set it there. If it's a gateway and you're doing your commissioning for the first time, you set it to the mid position. Once commissioning's done, you set it down to the bottom position. And at that point, it will secure that mode and the system is set up and operational. There's also, to the right of the switch, to the left of the push button, there's 3 very bright LEDs. The top one is the indicator for whether it's a gateway or a node. Amber is gateway, green is node. The second LED is the wireless network signal strength status. Green is good link, red is a bad link. And then the third LED, the bottom LED, green is that communication is established and that the device is found, and red would be no communications. With the installation and setup, basically you wire the devices up, set the dip switches, and on the nodes, make sure that that 3-position switch is set to the up position. And you would then, once everything's powered up, you would take the gateway device and make sure again it has its dip switches set up, power it up, and then first step is set the gateway switch to the middle position. It's going to reboot into the commissioning mode, and the device will indicate that it's in this mode with a flow of the green LED indication. The 3 LEDs, it'll just circle through top, middle, bottom, indicating that it's in a commissioning mode. And with all the W-BACnet nodes powered up and within range, they will be put into the commissioning mode and will then be built as part of the mesh, and the gateway will set that up. And when it is done, you will see the 3 green LEDs all blinking on and off on the nodes, signifying that it's done. And then once done, the third and last step is to take that 3-position switch on the gateway and set it to the bottom position. Now the entire network would reboot and placed into a secure mode, and it would be ready for operation.
Okay, on the bench today I have 4 W-BACnet devices, and I've got one set up as the gateway, and it's signified that by the top LED glowing amber, is signifying it is a gateway. And I've got 3 others, each with a different BACnet MSTP controller by various manufacturers. And I left the covers off the W-BACnet so we can see what how the settings are set up in there. And you can see the dip switches are set for 38.4 and to get its baud rate from the node. You can see the LEDs there. I have each switch setting. The switch settings of each one set up the same, as well as on the gateway side, which is going back to, in my case here, I'm going back to a controller with a BACnet router, so we can see it back on the laptop. So for now, you can see how we're set up. Now, if all these were just powered up for the first time, what we do for commissioning and setting up the mesh is simply setting the dip switch on the gateway to the middle position for commissioning, and you'll see the LED sequence of each. First is starting out with 3 amber lights blinking, and then once it starts commissioning, you'll see the nodes have turned blue and are cycling through, and you will see the gateway is cycling through green, that it is setting up the mesh network with all of the node devices. As they become set up in the mesh, you'll notice the change in the LED sequences when it gets to that point. There you go. The first one here is all set, and the LEDs, the way they work is on a node. Top LED green is node, and amber would be gateway, so this would be a node. The middle LED is going to show signal strength. Green is good, red would be bad, and the third's going to be the MSTP communications. Green meaning there's communications. So right now the triple blinking means that they are all set up with the mesh. So now to lock that in, we go back to the gateway and we move it to the bottom position, which then secures that setup, and it will set up the LEDs appropriately for a fully set up network. So right now the gateway went to the top LED amber, signifying it is the gateway and it is set and running. And then we start seeing the top LED blinking green, that it's still finalizing its setup. The bottom LED blinking green means we have communications with the BACnet MSTP device. We move to the next one. We'll see the bottom LED blinking green, meaning it's connected and talking to the BACnet MSTP device. And if we move to the third node, you'll see the top LED is blinking green, signifying it's a node and it's still setting itself up. And then you have the green bottom LED that it is communicating with the MSTP controller. And you'll see here, this one is finally set up. You've got the middle green, meaning it's a good signal. Obviously, these are only a foot apart. And then the bottom LED will blink green if it's communicating MSTP, which it is. So that's set up and working properly. We go to the second one. This LED sequence is correct and communicating properly with the device. And the same with the third device. It's all set up and functioning. So now we have a mesh of three nodes and a gateway.
And that is it for the LumenRadio W-BACnet. I hope you found this informative, and we do have inventory of this product. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you next time around. Thanks.